All right, director.
Floor is yours.
Hello, this is Rachel Bowler Majestic, reading Escapades of a 25-year-old Virgin Loves Sex and Most Definitely the Lack Thereof. Adam equals Weekend Warrior. So it was an interesting evening on Saturday night. I trainified myself downtown to 2 different work parties. The first at a semi-posh Bucktown converted double apartment. The owner, one of our radio promo guys, obviously put a ton of work into this place, because what used to be 2 apartments, an upstairs and a downstairs, he converted into one place, and let me tell you, it's pretty amazing. But I digress, ... I spent much of the evening being brutally belittled by coworkers who love to feast upon my idiosyncrasies. You fucking vultures. But it was all right, because the barbecue was uber marvelous, and the booze was ever present.
There's some metaphoric words. Never mind.
The female population at this gathering was limited to 30-something-esque married people, coworkers, and obvious lesbians, none of which I felt the least bit promising.
Fuck.
So I voluntarily embarrassed myself for a few hours, providing my coworkers all the ego-boosting entertainment they could ever need, and eventually moved on to party number 2. This one taking place in the significantly less posh Pilsen on the south side. When I describe Pilsen as significantly less posh, I really mean the farthest thing from yuppie world. The only thing you'd find a yuppie on the streets of Pilsen is if their BMW is carjacked and with said yuppie still in the passenger seat. But there seems to be a bit of movement towards this neighborhood by the hipsters and the artsters in Chicago. And one of the loft buildings where this party was an example of just that. 2 very artsy people moving into the next Wicker Park. Don't get me wrong, the apartment was great. And the party was a blast, especially the vodka. But it just seemed a little out of place, so I spent most of my night guzzling Red Bulls and vodka and hovering over the cocktail shrimp.
Cocktail shrimp.
I felt like someone needed to come up to me and say, hey, the ocean called, they're running out of shrimp. Because I probably ate at least 30. But the women prospects were even slimmer at this party due to the overwhelming huge population of sausage. And the way I saw it, I might as well just get blasted off great vodka and stuff my face with an ungodly amount of shrimp, instead of hitting on the one available female there, which conveniently had her gay friend there as a bodyguard to fend off any prospect with a violent bitch slap.
God.
So I ended the night stumbling back to Liz's car and onto the train for the longest train ride in history, 18th Street all the way to Rosemont. Thank God for sunglasses, because it would have been pretty miserable on that bright-ass train with little darkness for sleeping. I was startled awake at the Damon stop by some drunken partygoers getting on the train, and of course, this hot, blonde model type sits directly across from me. And she's obviously alone, which was weird, because normally don't hot, blonde model types end up with huge, muscularly greasy-looking dudes by the end of the night? This was a first for me, and I was no longer in a sleeping mood. So what do I do? Instead of starting up a conversation with Miss Blonde, I keep my sunglasses on and I just oogle her because she can't see me doing so. And for like 6 stops, then finally I start up a conversation and come to find out she could actually speak fairly intelligently. Which in retrospect, it makes me think I should have started talking to her from the beginning. Perhaps I could have gotten some hot, blonde digits. Anyway, we talked about my work and the overall state of drunkenness in society, and then she exited my world forever. Rosemont finally hit me, and I slowly drove home and passed out before I hit the bed, I think. Sunday was another busy day, as I decided, upon awaking at roughly 1:15, to clean my room and my car. Needless to say, that project never got finished. I had made plans for the day with Alicia, a girl that I had a huge crush on in college. Backstory on Alicia, I was crazy for this girl in college, until one day I tried to kiss her, and she leapt like a cat backwards in utter fear. Not exactly the greatest moment in my mojo history, to say the least. But anyway, we were going to North Halstead Market Days down in Boys Town, followed by a Chris Isaak show at the House of Blues later that evening. Everything seemed to be going off without a hitch when we got to our train transfer. We waited for at least 50 minutes for a train, which I don't think ever came, to be honest, which ultimately led to us going to the street and hopping a bus that was going the wrong way. Eventually, we got turned around and took a $12 cab ride down to the fest. Joe and Liz met us there, and we walked, strutted, pranced down enjoying both the incredible food and the incredible entertainment of all the large transvestites, furry bears, and overall drunken debauchery of all the male gay community in Chicago. I've decided that I love transvestites for the single reason that these guys, all 6'4" and 250 pounds of them, have more guts, not to mention no shame, in one pinky than I do in my entire body. And for this, they should be commended. So anyway, Alicia and I shared several pseudo meals and ended up walking up and down Halstead with Joe and Liz until dark and eventually headed over to HOB. I'll say this about Chris Isaac. The man is an entertainer and a great one at that. I think this man has a fan base that is only rivaled by Rick Springfield when it comes to 40-year-old women. The place was crawling with them. And the squeals! I felt like Tom Hanks in That Thing You Do. The best with this lady in a pink dress in the front who couldn't keep her eyes off the bassist, a mid-50s Keith Richards lookalike who most definitely realized she was sweating him, and in return put his crotch in her face several times. It was rather humorous, but at the same time depressing, because I realized that they would be getting laid tonight, more than likely in some sort of cramped car, tour bus, or dressing room, and I most definitely would not be, yet again. But I have mentioned before that I've come to terms with my celibacy, and I'm fine with it. But do I have to watch 50-year-olds involved in a pathetic mating ritual? But I digress yet again. Chris put on a great show, though, and I will say this. The man had more glitter on his suit than a 5-year-old's Bible schoolcraft day. He reminded me of a Johnny Cash, Gary Glitter crossbreed. After the show, Alicia and I headed back to the burbs and ended up watching 2 episodes of Arrested Development at her house, playing with her puppies. Overall, I had a great yet extremely tiring weekend. And yet again, it was reconfirmed that I had a better chance of relationship with Chris Isaac than any of the girls that I was with. Keep on trucking. Adam.
I was an incel.